information is flying at you at the speed of light. So you have to very quickly take a stand, because you see, the stand is what gives you the position and the to speak from a perspective of self. But then if you're not grounded and you don't have a solid value system, then you tend to go with the wind. Wherever it's popular and favorable to go, you go. You have to take a stand. You have to have an identity of position of thinking. So the first thing you need to realize, and this is something that I learned very early in my life, is what type of, because all of this will not mean anything if you don't have an ironclad belief system. Now, how do you get a belief system? You get a belief system from the things that you engage in terms of thought. Your thinking is what creates the paradigm that becomes a belief system. And then the belief system gives you an expectation in life, because that's how now you build a construct from which you process all information, the filter of life and everything that's happening goes through an expectation, because that's how you're able to position things. And then the expectation, from that expectation, you develop an attitude. The attitude is always consistent with the expectation. Look at yourself. So if you take a look at what your expectation is in life, you develop an attitude consistent with that. And from that attitude, it's a set of things that goes into what we call the behavior. So your behavior will always be consistent with an attitude that came from the expectation of your life. And then from that behavior, you build the performance blocks, the things in life that you aspire to, that will make you who you want to be. Because remember where it came from. I don't know if you guys listen to the news coming from Ghana. There is a very popular Ghanaian politician called Kennedy Ejapong, who's actually my senior at college, and he used to take care of me when I was at this school, at Adisado College. And Kennedy Ejapong we used to have some series on television called The Attitude. He used to talk about attitude a lot, that Ghanaians don't have the right attitude. We are naturally born bad. And if you don't understand the mind and how the mind works, then you can make statements like that. So you can never say Ghanaians have the bad attitude and we are naturally born bad. And if Ghanaians don't change the attitude, nothing can happen. Because you see, remember what I said, your belief system, the thinking you engage in is what gives rise to a belief system. And then the belief system is what creates the paradigm, which is called the expectation of life, and you build an attitude from that. So if you want to change the soup, you cannot just take the salt out and say, or put the salt in and say that the soup is going to taste good. Everything that came before the point where you put the salt in matters. So what I'm saying is when someone says change your attitude, they really don't understand, because you cannot just change your attitude. You see, your attitude is emboldened and locked in because of certain things have happened before your attitude. Attitude is symptomatic. You see, attitude came from somewhere. It wasn't just, you did not just happen here. You are not just here. You didn't just fall from the sky. An interaction of your father and your mother, they came together to give rise to you. So if we want to change you, we need to go back how many years old you are and change the meaning of your father and your mother coming together to produce you. Sort of, that's how you have to think. So when you come back and you say, "Oh, doctor, don't she, we don't want her, we have to get rid of her, or she shouldn't have been here," then you need to go back how many years Dr. Donchi is and Dr. Joyce is, and work on that meeting. And that's how attitude is. Attitude is symptomatic. It came because some things happened. It came because you engaged in a set of thinking that gave rise to a belief system. So if you want to change the thinking, if you want to change the attitude, then you start with, what thinking did you engage in? Now, when a person is born, between the first 1 to 6, 7 years, it's almost like you go to a store and you buy a computer. You don't, aside from the operating system on the computer, there is nothing else on a computer. If you want the computer to do certain things, then you need to download programs and apps on the computer so that you can use that to do certain functions. So when you are born into the world, between the first 1 to 6, 7 years old, that's how your mind is. Your mind is a sponge that is just absorbs. It doesn't have anything on the computer except for the operating system software, right? So all your mind does is absorb everything in the environment. So if you live in an incredibly successful environment, like you take a look at you, for those of you who have children, if you gave birth to children in Russia, your children will be very different from you because they're exposed to a different environment. They will absorb different things. The content that they absorb will be different from the content you absorbed when you were born in Ghana, if you were born in Ghana, that is. Okay, so the programs you put on the computer is what gives the computer access to be functional to the level of your expectation. So if you give birth to a child and they live in Abu Burushi or Nima or Zungu or Baulish, if you know Ghana well, I don't know how long you've been out in Russia land, but if you know the areas in Ghana or um, you know Polo Park or any other areas that's run down, no infrastructure, there's abusiveness, there's filth, and people are not taken care of. That's what the child sees. So from the first 1 to 7 years, once the child is taken in, all the negativity, they become a product of that, and that becomes the thinking they have absorbed, that now becomes their belief system is hinged on. Now they're going to build an expectation based on that. So an attitude will be formed through that. So when you come and you say the child, the person who's seen all that negativity should change their attitude, then there's a conflict. You can't just expect somebody to change their attitude. You have to go back to the thinking they engaged in to undo it. The damage that we have from untruths, wrong thinking, is more than the damage that will ever happen to us from right thinking. You see? So the things we have already laid, because it came in at a very early stage of our lives. So that's how, if you want to change things, you need to. Most of us have been exposed to that type of thinking. So now we're in a different world in Russia, and we battling, we taking stuff in, and this is where the breakaway comes. How you can build a value system. It's going to be, some of you will not even realize you have broken away from the old style of thinking, but the constant barrage at you, because every day you come out of your room, you're exposed to what's going on in Russia, they're hitting you. You watch television, they're hitting you. You see the environment, what's going on, the cleanliness, the order, the systems. They're coming at you mentally, subliminally. They're affecting your mind. So with time, your baseline changes, your baseline of thought changes, whether you like it or not, because you eating, breathing, sleeping this every day. It's coming at you. So over time, it changes your dial from where you used to be. Okay. And that gives rise to the baseline that now you're going to work with. Now, the danger is if you don't build a habit from this, and you don't do the things that cause you to behave differently, build a permanent habit from this, then when you go to Ghana, you flip back, because it's etched in your subconscious, that which happened between the first 1 to 7 years. And that's why we have the problem that a lot of people talk about that. Oh, how many of you on here can speak Chi? Can I throw in some Chi every so often, or it's purely English?
Yes, you can. Most of
Okay,
us can speak Chi.
most. Okay, that's not fair. I want everybody to be able to understand. So, all right. So we'll keep it in English. But sometimes you would say, oh well, these guys, they came from abroad. They went to school abroad, but now um, they're in Ghana and they're behaving like they're thieves. They don't understand how the system works. So I guess anybody who goes to school abroad and they take office in Ghana, this is what we see. They come, they steal, they take advantage of the system, they abuse the system, they exploit the system. Well, because you got to understand, they're this thing that was etched in their subconscious when they were between 1 to 7 has not left them. It's almost like when you have a computer and you go into your system software and you delete something. When you delete something, it's still in the crevices of the computer, and you can get software that can bring it back up again, right? So it's there, unless maybe you go through some special type of deleting process where it's permanently taken off the computer. You see? So that's based on how much exposure you have, how you process the exposure and everything that's coming in. That's what's going to give rise to your thinking. So now when you take a look at your brain, as you look at me now, Dr. Joyce, if you we take a top view, um, it's called, oh man, I got to discard. I have calls coming in. What time is it? Is it 12? It's not 12 yet. Um, okay. So if you take, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay. All right, good. Every so often, the conference calls will come in and it will be disrupted, but don't worry, I'll come right through again. So if we take a look at, you looking at me now, so you have your left part, and then you have your right part of your brain. If we take a frontal, a top view, so if we look at your head from top down, you have to look at, we have a left side and a right side. So if you were to divide your brain into 4 parts, looking this way, Then on your left side, you have the social and the scientific mind. And on the right side, you have the spiritual and the emotional mind. See? So you have social and spiritual, scientific on the left side. The front left is social. The front rear is scientific. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So front left, social. Front rear is scientific. Front right is emotional, and front rear, right rear is spiritual. So if you want to engage in, when we go to school, we are taught to really work our left mind more. Our left mind is what the exposure we gets more exposure than our right, because our right is the spiritual, intuitive thinking mind, which it's almost like it's something that you experience, for yourself, but you are not taught, because you can be taught. You know, your experiences you engage in your life is what brings about how convicted you become spiritually. And so it's usually we develop the left side of our mind more than our right side of our mind. And because it's lopsided in terms of development, we don't engage it in thinking. So our thinking is not multidimensional. Our thinking is more something that's logic. Our subjectiveness, especially people who are educated like you, the bunch of you here, has to do with more science-based and data-driven, but you leave that side of intuition and spirituality, and that affects the way that you think. It's not multidimensional. So we want to get you into a point where all the quadrants of your brain are engaged in when you make a decision. How do we get all the quadrants? But to do that, you have to establish what we call the value system. And the value system comes from the things you believe in, the things you engage in, that makes you the person that you are. So it's so many different things that you have to exercise with your mind and come to the realization that this is how things work before you could get the full benefit of a multidimensional thinking. It becomes part of you, because not unless you exercise that and that becomes part of you, then every thought you engage in will be lopsided. We want to get you to a place where your thought is inclusive in all the dimensions of your brain, and that's where we get to the multidimensional thinking and solving problems, because you have to. So say, for instance, I don't know if you're keeping up with what's happening in Ghana. The big thing now is galamsey. So if the president has to think of galamsey, you cannot just make a decision that, oh, galamsey is bad, so we're going to get rid of galamsey. Okay, that's using the left part. The right side would say, well, how are people going to live if you were to cut galamsey? You have to provide something for them to be able to live off on. If you cut galamsey, you have to think about their lives, the conditions about work and how they live, and you know what I'm saying, all of that. And people who have already been exposed to galamsey, what about having a program where you detoxify their systems because they've been exposed to toxicity at very high levels? So that's the multidimensional way of solving a problem, than to say galamsey is bad, it's decimating the land, it's polluting the water, so we stop galamsey. That's it. Then you have resistance. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference between the linear type of solving a solution versus a multi-dimensional way of solving a solution. So at this point, I'm not gonna, because I see we halfway through it, I'm gonna allow for questions to come in so we can engage some more. So Doc, over to you.
Okay, I would like to start with a question. Thank you very much for
Sure.
explaining what multidimensional thinking is. I have learned that the dimensions are the spiritual, social, scientific, and emotional, or the intuitive. And I would like to know if any of the dimensions is superior. I'm asking for the sake of emergency. Say you are faced with a challenge that you need to resolve immediately. Which of the dimensions can you
Can you employ?
yeah,
Well, well,
exactly.
that's a perfect question, and that is basically the underlining thought to this whole process. For every situation, Doc, you will be faced with, and this is why you have to burn at all cylinders at full mast. Now, depending on the situation and what the urgencies of the situation is, you would have to make a call as to which you employ. You have the availability to use a knife, a shotgun, a hoe, a cutlass, depending on the situation. If you embark on, you have to cut salad, you're not going to use a hoe. You're going to use a little knife. If you come and it's a little stump on the in your garden that you need to take, you might need a hoe. If you come and let's say it's a tree you want to cut down, you might need an axe. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
you cannot. It's not a one thought process fits all. You have to be quick to evaluate what a situation calls for. And this is why you need to use all the muscles and work all the muscles to a point where the genius is in a flip second knowing what to use, a cutlass, a hoe, a machete, you know what I'm saying? And then using it, because that's what's going to define how elevated you are in your consciousness. So it's not a one size fits all approach. It's that which you evaluate to be relevant at this in the, you could use one approach now, and 10 minutes from now, that would not be relevant to your situation to use. You see? So it's the mastery of massaging which is which and when to use what. That's mastery. But you have to gradually elevate to that level.
That's great. Initially, when you were speaking, before my question, I thought that a multidimensional way of thinking is employing all the dimensions when wanting to solve a problem. But then now I understand that you can employ one depending on the situation and then employ the others depending on the situation. Did I get that right?
Well, sort of, but I just want to make sure you, okay. So the thing is that which is the most prominent, because you
Mm-hmm.
see, the dimensions are layered. So let's just say the dimensions are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
There is a situation, you have to employ all 4, but then in one situation, it will be 1, 2, 4, 3. In another situation, it will be 4, 2, 1, 3. It will be another,
Mm.
you see what I'm saying? So it's that
Yeah.
which is the most relevant. You have to prioritize that which you use, but in using all the dimensions makes the thought balanced in consideration of an outcome that is best. If you want the best outcome, then you have to employ all the dimensions, but you have to figure out that which is the most prominent, and you have to prioritize that which you use. Are you with me?
Yes.
So you employ all, but which is the most prominent that you have to use in this situation?
And you talked about mastery. So the order of prominence, right? How do you master the skills to be able to arrange and know that, okay, in this situation, 4 should come before 2, then after that 3, then 1.
Experience. It's called khaki, constant assault to continuous improvement. You have to constantly be doing this, and as you do it, you improve and you refine your ability to know which comes first and second. So, as same situation, Doc, you will use 4, 3, 2, 1, but 6 months from now, the same situation, you use 4, 2, 3, 1. You see what I'm saying? Because you refined your way of dealing with that situation. It's just like, I'm sure, let's say you have an argument with a friend of yours, and you go home, you consider what happened, and you have a difference of opinion. So you see them, you apologize, and the next time that same thing comes up again, you don't handle it the way you handled it the first time. You've mastered, you've learned from certain things you said, certain positions, so you deal with it a little differently now. You see what I'm saying? And as it happens, maybe not with your friend, but with somebody else who's an outsider, you would know in an even better way, because now you've drawn out emotion totally. So it's just being subjective and pragmatic in the decision making. So emotion becomes the last thing that you put into the layers when you're dealing with someone. And that's another thing too when it comes to leadership is you never want to be judgmental. You want to label the situation and desist from attachment of emotion. So you label it and you cut out emotion so that it's pure. It's based on the credibility of the situation and nothing else. Because the moment emotion goes in, then it becomes, well, it's not, you have a filter. Emotion is filter, and you might not see the full details properly. So that's how you handle it.
Okay. And if I may ask, is there a standard way to measure? Because all these things that we're talking about sound subjective because of the filters we have, the individual filters we have. So is there a way of measuring to know that, okay, in 6 months from now, I solved a problem better than I did now?
Excellent question. Beautiful question. Well, the way you massage the subjectiveness is how far away the emotion factor is close to the situation. The less emotion, the purer the decision. You see what I'm saying? So in every situation, you're a doctor, you called into an emergency room, somebody just came in who's a close family member, and you have to act. You don't have time to get another doctor in, or you walk into, God forbid, into an accident, and is a family member. You got to cut the emotion out, and this is what in leadership is called compartmentalization. You have to sever the emotion, put it away, so you can be objective in making sure this is how you deal with it. You see what I'm saying? So if you don't do that, then chances are the emotion gets in the way. You might not make a split-second decision effectively, and that might cause consequences. So the emotional aspect is good, but you have to be very careful where it comes in, because that is what determines how close you are from the subjectivity of the issue. So, and this is why mastery comes, because no two situations are the same. Your emotion, your emotional state, your psychological state, your physical state, your spiritual state, all becomes important when you're considering certain situations. And mastery is when you can desist from all of that and still make the decision to be a true and pure one as the situation uh, uh, demands. And it comes from practice. You're not gonna get there, right? Right away. You have to. And one thing that you do is every time a decision like that is made at this level, you have to sit back and reconsider all the other options, how you could have made the decision and gotten the same outcome or a better outcome, and you prune it. By pruning and massaging it, that you perfect it, so that's how that happens in the multi. And it's a huge problem. Let me tell you, it's a huge problem in Ghana because Ghanaians, because of our culture and the religion aspect, we're not trained to multi-dimensionally think. We are very linear in our thinking. Oh, AUC is that, AUC is that. And it brings a whole lot of problems. And you can see that in the leadership now in the government, the way they think about things. I don't know if you guys are listening to the hearings at Parliament, deciding whether to get rid of Fureta or not. But if you hear them, it's like it's something very simple that they can make a decision on, and people can make a decision. And it goes with everything across board. How people are, we have not been taught how to think. As a people, we don't know how to think. And people think thinking is that which you engage in, and oh, let me open the door and brush my teeth. No, that's reflectiveness. Thinking is a protocol. Thinking is a discipline that you have to learn how to do. If you don't learn how to do that properly, then you have a problem. So we have not been taught. The most educated people I sit down with, I see that they don't know how to think. And when I talk to them, sometimes they take offense. They're like, oh, what do you mean? And then they get into a situation and they have problems, or they make the bad decisions. Good people, but good person doesn't necessarily mean you know how to think. There are a lot of good people in this world, and that's why a lot of good people suffer. Why do you think good people suffer? They make wrong decisions. They don't know how to think, genuinely don't know how to think. And it's like that in Ghana a lot. We have not been taught. And there's one of the things as president that I want to change in terms of the curriculum, because the curriculum is so weak. It makes people intellectuals, but they are very weak intellectuals who are not functional. They have a lot of degrees, but they're not functional. You put them in any situation, they don't know how to massage it. They stuck. Round hole, square plug. So that's how the multi-dimensional thinking is to get anyone to fit in any hole. You go into any hole, you acclimate to that hole. But that's not what is happening now, and that's why we have the situation that we have now. So we have about a quarter of an hour to go. If you have any questions.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions? But
Yeah.
Mr. Kofi Koranteng, a minute, please. This is very interesting, and I would like to know if you would be able, I'm beseeching you, if you would be able to run a series on this. That is, if you have time.
Yeah, I mean, we could do talk. I mean, my talk is about the mind, and it's I know it uh, it's kind of boring because, but listen, if you go through it, um, it you get a paradigm. Yeah, and I mean, I definitely would love to. We just have to work out the schedules and see what times would be good. But I'd definitely love to engage you and also get a sense. I want to hear more from you because it helps me tweak, and it helps me also kind of like break down. I don't want to be, just puking all over you all the time. I want to hear from you. I want you to engage me in some really deep thought thinking. But definitely, without a doubt, if the timing is right, we'll work out some schedules and we can do a couple of series so um, we can get you guys to that level by all means.
Okay. I would like to open the floor for questions. Please, if you have any questions for Mr. Kofi Koranteng.
Yes, please, can I say something later?
Yes, please.
Derek, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Koranteng.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Call me Kofi. Don't worry about it.
It's a pleasure having you.
Likewise.
I have a question for you, and it has to do with our educational system.
Mhm.
We're talking about how our faculties can be built. And we know that our educational system will play a vital role in the formation of our thinking capacities.
Sure.
I want to know your assessment on the educational system we have at home. Do you think that there's something that's missing in making us have that multi-dimensional thinking capacities, or everything is okay?
Absolutely. I mean, listen, without a doubt, you don't even need to think about that. You go into Ghana, you know there's something seriously wrong with our thinking. When the English left us, they left us with a system that will keep us where, it's all structured. It's not supposed to elevate us, it's supposed to keep us there so it'll be able to control us. And that's what they designed for us. So for us to be able to elevate, but these guys don't understand. NDCMPP, they're there to milk the cow. They're not there to even check to see if the cow is eating right. They just want to milk the cow and run away with the cheese. You see what I'm saying? So we need to go into functional education, relevant education. Our education is not relevant. I don't know if you guys know this, but in Ghana right now, there are over 3 million graduates who don't have work because all the multinationals come in and they say, you guys are not skilled to our liking. We can't use you. So imagine all the all the things that we need in Ghana in terms of infrastructure, healthcare, road construction, uh, social. We don't have parks. We don't have. I mean, look at Russia. You're in Russia now, so you take a look at the experience in Russia, and you say, why can't Ghana be like St. Petersburg? I mean, um, and what is it? We have more money, so why can't we make it like? Well, because the people who are the leaders don't see the need to have that because of the way that the curriculums have worked. We have deadbeat curriculums. We don't change the curriculums and and give ourselves what we need. Then it will always be like this. So you're absolutely right. We need to change the curriculums that we have. As president, that's one of the first things I would do. We're going to adapt more like the German Scandinavian, but then it's going to be also more towards us, practicum, things that will get people to be useful at every level of education and also be useful to Ghana. Right now, that's not the case. That's why we have 3 million graduates who are unemployed. And it will start from kindergarten.
Thank you very much. So let me ask a follow-up to this question. When we talk about that system overhaul in our educational apparatus, where is it starting from? Is it the body that handles our educational system, or where is it going to start from?
The Ministry of Education. Simple.
Okay.
It's so simple. It's so simple. And when you do that, everything else has to be consistent with that paradigm. So if Ministry of Education is changing curriculums in Ghana, then it means we have to also be careful, Derek, the type of content we put on television, the type of content that comes out of radio, the type of content that we see on billboards and everything, because you have to understand every day you are subliminally brainwashing the child, the undeveloped mind, to accept certain norms about our society. The Ghanaian, I don't know if we even have sociologists who look at these things, but it's almost like nobody takes into account these things. People like, hey, live, and people just do things, and it affects us. And that's one of the reasons why some of us can't even perform at the level we need to perform when we come abroad. Our counterparts are multidimensional, and you look at them and you think, hey, Brunid, you're smart too. No, it's just that you've not been trained to open up your mind the way the Bruni has been. So, ufu so you're smart. The Arjuna Dautim and one identity. You see what I'm saying? Nobody's smarter than anybody else. It's just, I mean, there are exceptions, don't get me wrong. But on the norm, everybody has that same myelin, that gray stuff in their mind that is almost 90% cholesterol, that they build synapses to get the mind to work. And if you are not able to build synapses to empower your thought patterns, then you're weak. You're a weak human being. You're a weak product. You cannot be functional in your environment. So how can you be productive to self? You can't. You're weak. You're a weak breed. So that's how it works.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please ask questions so that the discussion can be multidimensional.
They know, they understand. You know, for most time, like when I go to the universities, Legon or Tech, and I haven't done one in Cape Coast, but in Tech usually and in Legon, by the time I'm done with a session, they get it. You know, like a lot of them, my inboxes, the stuff that comes in my inboxes and people coming up to me, they like get it. It was always there. I just opened them up to it. You know, I'm running again. 2024, I'm running. Go on our website, kofikoranteng.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all there. You know, Dr. Joyce did it. Yeah, so we run it again. So we want to change. We want to change Ghana. We want to build a world so you wouldn't have to be in Russia to be enjoying the things you enjoy. You can enjoy it right in Ghana. You know, so this is what I am, very youth centered and conscious, and we want to build a world for the youth in Ghana, that when we put you through that experience, you come out and you be like, wow, what is this? You know, it's going to be incredible. So I'm running.
Okay.
Come support me. Push our information online everywhere, and let's make it happen. Go ahead. A few questions before we go.
Yeah. Nilante has a question. Nilante, we are listening.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Nilante Lamte, and my question is very simple. I want to ask Honorable Kwesi, or Honorable Kofi, that what do you think that
Kofi is
okay,
good
Kofi,
enough.
okay, Kofi. I want to ask that how can we get parents on board to help in the mental engineering of students coming up? Because I feel like when we put all the pressure on the educational system, sometimes it becomes difficult. But you see, the child's development is also the parents are also a factor in the child's development. So how can we also get parents on board? Because minus the parents, trust me, we are done for. So that's my question. Thank you.
Excellent question. You know, when I had said that we will change content on television, radio, billboards, that's for the parents. You see, because if, like you said, if we cannot elevate the consciousness, the parent is the arbiter in terms of setting the temperature for the child. So no matter how high the temperature of the child goes, the parent is the thermostat. The moment they come home and the parent is set at 20, the child comes down to 20. So the thermostat has to be permanently changed to be set at high. So the child, when they go high, they stay at that level. You guys with me? So we have to do a lot of work on the parents, and even the material coming out through work will change. You know, even when you go to work, orientation, policy will change from top to bottom, so that the whole revolution of the intellect will not be just isolated, because when you isolate a revolution of the intellect, with time, it norms again. So the revolution of the intellect will be, you would bombard the whole nation with it. Of course, different levels for different people, but the nation will come together and every sector will be affected. All the ministries, all the 10 ministries, the information will be there. Education will be, Ministry of Education will be, of course, the mastermind, but all the ministries, everything. If you are a corporation coming into Ghana, even the guidelines that we're going to give you will mean that you would have to meet some basic requirements or you cannot set up in Ghana, which will be consistent with the education levels and expectations set by Ministry of Education. You can't do it like this, let me grant you. And no, it's a gradual process, but we will hit all the points. Like there's so much garbage on Ghana television, on Ghana radio. Everybody will go through a certification process, and you would have to, in recertifying, you would have to agree to do some programs, which will be public service, educating the masses, letting them know, going to the villages, letting people know. So it's gradual. All the mobile phone companies will have text that they send and pushing out to their subscribers every week, telling them something about well-being and how to eat and how to live, and everything will be affected. So
Okay, thank you. Paulina, your hand was up. Paulina, you can ask your question.
Yes, so my question is about work. I wanted to ask that in our attitude towards work, should we only be concerned about getting money, or we should also be concerned about how our colleagues treat us? And if they are treating us poorly, should we concentrate the money, or we should also think about our self-value?
all right, so it's okay, so that's very multidimensional. So okay, so we have created an environment, Paulina, where we are in such need of the money because we have such poor quality standards at work in our lives. So the options to live a decent life is very, very different. If I'm answering your question and you live and work in Russia, my answer will be different from someone who lives in Ghana, because in Russia, I don't know your situation, but I would think that if the standards and the quality of your work is in conflict with your value system, you just leave and go get a job somewhere else, or you could file. I'm in New York now, so if I've worked for my life, I've worked for myself since 1994. So I don't know how it is I've done consultancy work, but if I go into any firm to do consultancy for them and I didn't like something, maybe my office was too dark, I needed sunlight to come in, or there was just unnecessary noise and clutter somewhere in the office, I just tell whoever I had the contract with us that nonsense got to stop or I'm out of here. Simple. And they will change it for me. But can I do that in Ghana? Ghana, I mean, you see what I'm saying? And if you have to depend on it to feed your family, then you cannot just get up and walk. So it starts with first changing the expectation of the people through increasing their we have to be a better society and a tolerant society. You see, so not only are you a better society, but a tolerant society, an understanding society. Know these things so that when the society is better, all systems are flying, people have good jobs, then there's competition. When there's competition, people can pick and choose. And then the rising tide will raise all the boats, because everything is blasting at the best. You see? So if you are government, your perspective is different, your responsibility is different. You cannot just do that and say, you have to do that by saying that the way you can better your people's lives is by creating better work standards. And when people are not happy with something, they can come forth and say it and have it corrected. In Ghana, the policy with public service workers is very, very poor. And if you don't want to work, just leave. Get somebody else to do it. You see? So if you don't change that, you won't be able to give a platform to people who may be being abused or feel threatened or don't like the ways things are working at the work environment. So it's tough. But when the same person needs money to be able to feed their family, they might be harassed or but deal with it because they need the money to feed their family now, which is the situation now. A lot of women are being harassed at their jobs. You go and get a job, they have to sleep with you first, and then when you do the work, you have to come in and I mean, the horror stories that these students are telling me when I go to campuses, it's beyond my brains. You wouldn't even believe some if I told you. It's unbelievable, but people are doing it and they're getting away with it because labor laws allow them to do it. And even if you complain, who are you complaining to? The person you're complaining to is doing the same thing. So we need to change the nonsense. And women are the lower rank of that. Because our society is such that women we give the backseat to women at everything, and we need to change that too, and project that woman to be equal, actually better in my eyes. So this is a policy position that a leader should take, and this is what we are fighting for. That when we are able to get in, all these things will change. All these things will change. You cannot change it with these knuckleheads because that's not how they're thinking. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you
so thank
so
you.
much. But okay, Paulina, please.
No, I was thanking for explaining. We will have
Okay.
to change our. So yes.
Yeah.
All right. Mr. Kofi
Yeah. Well.
Koranteng,
Yes, ma'am.
and yes, we have a couple of questions. Would you permit us to ask them?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Please ask them. Please
Okay.
ask them.
Hero Panti.
All right, thank you. So, Kofi, I want to ask you a question, not about the presentation you made, but about your political career.
Sure.
My permitted, yes.
Please.
So,
Please go ahead.
okay, thank you. So, since the time Ghana gained independence in 1957, we could see that we had the CPP, the NPP, and the NDC running the country. Do you think that Ghanaians are ready to accept an independent candidate at the moment?
Well, okay. So if you had asked me that maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my response would have been different. But I run in 2020, and people ask me that, and but I tell you this: in 2020, we were disqualified, and they came to me and said, "Oh, Kofi, listen, you're doing well here and there. We want you to um, join the MPP, join the NDC," and I declined. And they forced me to, and I declined. They offered me money, and I declined. So what they did was they masterminded and they came up with some ridiculous charge that I forged signatures, and they disqualified me. Now I found out that we were getting so much traction that they were scared that if I had been on a ballot, um, the election 2020 would have gone into second round. That's why they disqualified me. And how can you prove that, Kofi? Well, there are 17 million plus people who registered to vote. Only 12 million plus voted. So there is a variance of almost 5 million who did not vote, who I would guess from Afrobarometer um, survey, they were not happy with the choices on the ballots who did not vote. So could it be that maybe some of them would have been our vote? I guess so. I wouldn't say all 5 million of them, but certainly some. Okay, because if you register to vote and you don't vote, and you're saying that the reason you didn't vote is because you're not happy with the choices, then it's fair to assume that um, most of them, or some of them at least, would have voted for us. So there's a chunk of people who see what we see. Now, fast forward 2022, everything we talked about that the NDC NPP were doing now, and it's living color. It's come home to roost. And people are saying, what? So now everywhere in Ghana, people are so disappointed. People are upset. People want to get rid of. So you take a look. It's not so much what Kofi's saying, but it's what people are experiencing. And you merge that with what I'm saying, and people see glimpses of truth in there. And they are forced to make a decision that, wait, listen, if you're a logical person, if you're an objective thinker, and you say, well, I've gone with these people for 30 years, they haven't done anything for me. Is it worth it to go back to more of the same, okay, which defies common sense, in my opinion? Or should I consider this guy and listen to this guy? Let me do more research on this guy and give him a shot. It can't get any worse than what NDC and PP have done. So if I gave him a shot and he came in 4 years, we would know what he's full of and we'll get rid of him. And that's where people are now. So people are considering, well, let's, even with the people who would have said, I don't want Kofi Koranteng, they're saying, sick and tired of these guys. It looks like they've taken advantage of us. So they may not be ready for anything different, but all they're saying is this, let's just give him a shot and see what he does, just to shut him up. And that could be a big break.
Okay, let's just a follow-up. So, Kofi, you're not the only independent candidates running, and we've had previous independent candidates, such as the Konedus and the rest. What distinguishes you from them? Why is the Ghanaians are not giving Konedu the chance to be the president since they are tired of the NPP and the NDC?
Authenticity and deep understanding of what we're up against. Simple.
Quick one.
If you go back, and you may have to do some research, and for you, the educated bunch, I'm sure, I know for a fact, a lot of you have gone back and done research, and I'm talking based on things people have told me. They've gone back, watched Konedu's videos, watched interactions, media interviews. You go back and watch everybody, including Muhammad Kufuor Baumia, who else? Boache Jakon, Alan Chermanting, and compare them to mine. Clear difference. Nobody comes close.
I get it that very well. So, Kofi, quick one.
Yeah.
I've been following you for a long while, and then I realized that you've been advocating for the amendment to allow foreigners to vote.
Not foreigners. Not foreigners.
I mean, Ghanaians outside. Ghanaians outside.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Ghanaians outside. So what has been the barrier? What is preventing this bill from being passed?
They scared that the Ghanaians abroad, like you guys in Russia, you make a decision like this to get rid of NDC NPP because of your exposure. And this is a beautiful question, by the way. Because of your exposure, you're not attached to NDC NPP. You will make decisions based on value. Are you getting value from NDC? No. Are you getting value from NPP? No. They have proven it. Maybe it's time for me to just give Kofi Koranteng a shot because he speaks the value that I want. And plus, for us to get from where we are into the next millennium, how we want a quantum leap to be globally competitive, you're not going to get it from the Kufuor and the NPP or the Mahama and the NDC. You can't. Look, go back and listen to all of them. They are dead on arrival in terms of vision for the country. So
my last question, Mr. Madam
sure.
Host, okay. You're running as an independent candidate. Do you have representative in various constituency representing, I don't know whether you have a party or not, but I know that you are an independent candidate. Do you have people representing the constituency to be a members of parliament?
We have about 120 parliamentarians now. We will start the drive for more parliamentarians mid-2023, because you see, nobody votes for the parliamentarian, they vote for the candidate, the president. So we have so many people on the shoulders waiting to dive in. But we will start, recruiting and going through a process of evaluating who might be the best candidate in middle of 2023. But we have over 120 of them now.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Say Foundation. Could you please ask your question? Okay.
Thank you.
Honorable,
Thank you very
yeah.
much.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate my able presidential candidate, Honorable Kofi Koranteng. I know him very well. I know him very well. And I think one of my guys are in his camp. I am Henry Koyosen. Is with him.
Wow.
I've been able to have a lot of discussions. At least he wanted, I am with Kofi Akpaloo. I contested the 2020 general election. So I know a lot. I want to drag your attention to something that happened at APAC meeting. I can't give you the actual date, but I was there. I was at the meeting when you entered, where our general secretary shouted, "You're not a political party, so they need to walk you out of the house."
Oh gosh, this is funny. Yeah. This is so funny.
I was there and I saw the reactions and everything. But that is where one of my questions will lie on, which is, let us face reality and let's face facts on the ground. You can only make serious decisions in the country if you build up a political party. Ghanaians normally don't pay attention to the independent candidates. I was going for an independent election. I contested with Queen Tapokuya Soya and Professor Kwesi Yanka in the Aguna East as the first time. And out of 7 candidates, I nearly, closely overthrown Professor Yanka. But lately, Tapokuya Soya took over. I noticed these things. Now, the promises have been more in our country, which, Honorable, you know about it. And so these days, it is making our job very difficult, especially when we go out with messages. People want to know what you have done already as a candidate. When I contested, I caused a change, which I knew I was not going to win. But I wanted to change the narrative of Ghana politics, which is I was driving attention from money sharing to productivity. So I was able to train almost 3,700 people in apprenticeship. I constructed a bridge that has been left for the people almost like 20-something years. I constructed boreholes in many villages. Though we know our politics game, apart from you doing all this, you need to buy votes, which I didn't buy. Because that was not my intentions of going there. I was only going to help society and help the community. I did it for joke. And as I'm talking now, anytime the MP, Queen Tapokuya Sowa, will go to the constituency, if I am not part, she doesn't get the welcome,
the response.
Response, because they notice the person who have really developed and helped the people, the youth.
Absolutely.
I went to the constituency last month, where one of the ladies came to me. She was selling meat pie. She wanted to give me some of the meat pie. I said, "Oh, I'm not interested." I said, "Honorable, if you don't take this meat pie, I'll be angry, because I was part of the people you trained."
Wow.
This time around, she is giving me something in return. If not, she would have said, "Honorable, give me money, give me money." But she's giving me something in return. I want to ask a simple question. My questions are two. I would prefer, the first one is a suggestion. I would prefer you give yourself years to build the fundamentals, which my party I am in, we have not noticed those things. Some of the political parties, Honorable, they are on agenda based. They are thinking of their selfish gain, what they will gain for themselves, their family, and not to cause change. And some of them are willing for us to know that this is your motive, your intention. Henry told me, he said, Henry have called me several times to join you, but you know where my head is. I cannot switch camp. So definitely I have to give him the lay down procedures. I don't know if he has been having those conversations with you, but I think I can only be behind and help with strategies, how you can be able to get the signatures done right, because the signatures, we all know, sometimes we take the information sitting in our offices, we let the people send the information to us, and we forge the signatures. Electoral Commission now have a system that can identify this signature is false. So with that aspect, maybe we can talk backdoor. I can give you those strategies from my experience, but joining your camp for now, maybe it's going to be later when maybe I would like to be in Kruma. We'll be joining UGCC and then helping CPP behind the and after he has to run and go for the presidential candidate, maybe the future may be able to. And my second one is, I am pleading on you to communicate people. I have met you twice on Onya when I was coming for Onya FM morning show where you were entering. I was listening to you. Your conversation is all about changing things in Ghana and changing the narrative of Ghana politics and all those things, which I fall in line with you the same. But we need to prove the people what we have done, even when we have not taken power.
Okay.
For me, my job is speaking for me. Sometimes I went to Nigeria last week for humanitarian awards because of this entrepreneurship training just last week, and a doctorate award. And I gave a speech that I said, this is what we have to do for the people. If every candidate is training 3,700 people during campaign, by the time we finish with the campaign, we'll be able to train almost like 50,000 Ghanaians in our constituencies. And assuming MP or every candidate is training somebody, how many of Ghanaians will be able to have their handicap jobs? So please, let us start channeling those agendas. Try, it is not you having a lot of money. There are a lot of foreign NGOs, which I am a young guy. I may not do everything by myself, but when you have a good cause and you communicate well to the foreign donors and they know purposely this is your reason and what you are doing for the people, definitely they will come on board to be of support. So if you've not started helping people, you've not started creating something, then I will plead on you to start, because that will be your message. Ghanaians are with promises and what we say with our mouths. We want to back things, or we see things with actions. So I know you can cause a change, not now, but we need to build the foundation. I am saying not now because in reality, NDC and NPP, even their voters and their delegates are even more than our followers as a smaller party. And to convince these people to come, in my time, I had the NDC executive. They came to meet me at my polling station. They
Hello. I can't hear anything.
Okay, sorry, I had a call. Is it okay now?
Okay, I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. They say, Honorable, you have done everything. We are supposed to vote for you, but you don't have the numbers. If we vote for you, our candidate will lose vote, and then our candidate will lose. We are coming to plead on you to give us access to go and vote for our candidate. Then try and convert and come and join. I said, no, I'm not coming to join any of NDC or NPP, because immediately I join them, I have to play their role. I need to lie. I need to try to defend lies. I am not good with those things. So I'll prefer being here and being a neutral person. Kindly let us start helping the people so you can have a straight message and point hands to your messages and not just verbal, because we all know Ghanaians are tired with verbal. Thank you very much. And about the political, I want to know, do you have intention building your own political party?
It's not going to be it's never going to be a political party, because we don't believe in a political party. It's a liability to the state and to the people who support it. We want to be, and their allegiance is to their people. A political party's allegiance is to the party, not to the people. We want to build a system for the people of Ghana. That's why we're not going to do a political party. We're doing a candidate. But now let me answer your question. We have tomato farms in Koforidua. We've done other projects, which we are compiling all of it. We started not too long ago. It hasn't been a year since we started most of the projects. So we're waiting for it to get a year plus. We're going to show everything. But we've done so much. As a matter of fact, Even yesterday, we got a call that we're acquiring land in our Prom Plains for corn, and they're negotiating now to get the land because we don't want it, land litigation and stuff. So but we are doing everything you're saying we are doing. We're just not going to do it the party way. We're going to do it an independent way. And the reason why, because when people say, "Oh, Kofi, not now, later," well, why don't you let the people decide? You are with a political party. Present your ideas, and let me present my ideas, and we hear stewards to the people, and let the people decide on who best they think. But for somebody to come tell me, "Oh, Kofi, wait, really? Wait for what? The country's on that this pressure is going to collapse before the next 2028. You want me to wait?" And I'm not here to win presidency. I'm here to serve my people. And I cannot say when is best because that would be opportunistic. If I feel the need for me to jump in and help, I jump in and help. It could be right. It could not be right. I don't care about that. My job is to help my people now because I know they need the help. And if I don't win, that's fine. I don't have any regrets, but at least there are a handful of people who would have gotten the message that could have some effect in the future, So that I'm not looking at it from Kofi has, oh yeah, I have to win this thing because that's the best way we're going to be able to be of service to our people. But it's not like, oh, if it's not winning, then it's the end of the world. No, I still have a responsibility to help my people, and that's the way I look at it. Being a steward, the rent you pay in life is the service you give. And I'm here to be of service to my people, and there's nothing wrong with that. I just don't listen to anybody who says, "Oh, Kofi, you got to wait till you've built this." And no, yeah, and Nkrumah did not wait. He came in and joined, and he won. And what he's done, nobody could come close to. So what's the rationale for waiting? None. Next question.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill.
Not actually about waiting though, because I am also not waiting. I'm still doing. So what I was trying to communicate is about most of decisions are made at Electoral Commission. And we all know our laws that if it's an independent party, it's not allowed on APAC meetings, which is Interparty Advisory Committee.
But you guys don't do anything that's productive anyway. What have you guys been able to reform?
Yes, that's it. But you know the laws.
So then
nothing there. Most of the decisions, let's assume like voting, we all notice when they are trying to use the Ghana card, which if you were with us that day, I know your vote would have counted because you would not even allow us to use the Ghana, which I disagreed with it. But if majority of us who disagree with some of the things are on it,
please. Excuse me, please. Honorable Samuel Ayikwe, thank you very much for your question. Mr. Kofi Koranteng has been very insightful. I, for one, have learned a lot. The quadrants of the brain, how to holistically solve problems using the 4 dimensions that you brought aboard in this discussion. Thank you for making us know your political ambitions. I can see the underlying passion that you have for the youth, and you are inclined towards changing mindset. And I believe that every major change comes from when we have a changed mindset.
That's right.
Yes, because then you're dealing with the fundamentals and you can go further from there. It would not be superficial. So thank you so much. But I still want to ask you before you go, would you do series with us, because this has been very insightful and indeed you are knowledgeable.
Definitely. I would love the opportunity to come and vibe with you guys anytime. Let's just do a schedule behind closed doors. We could just chat and figure out what schedule would be good, so we could stick to a schedule and do it for some time. I'll be more than happy to do that. Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a great
Thank you, everybody. Stay well, and thank you for the opportunity to engage and share with you.
Before Kofi leaves, I just want to send an appreciation from the student. I just want to say that do not be bothered about the numbers of people who have joined today's discussion. And it happens because most of us are trying to look for money in the foreign land and all that, a lot of excuses. But like the 16 of us who have joined today, we are going to send a message to our brothers how insightful this program has been. And then I promise that our next engagement, we are going to see a lot of people joining to also tap into the wealth of experience and knowledge that you have given to us this evening. And so, like Joyce has said, please find it within your schedules to be visiting us, to share with us a lot we need to also do as upcoming scholars to impact the nation in the style and in the structure and language that you always want it to be. So thank you very much.
By all means. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
We appreciate you too.
Thank you so much. Stay well. Have a good Saturday weekend, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.